You wake up. It's early 2020, and quarantine has got you stuck inside with little to do. School is cancelled, you're unable to go to work, whatever it may be. We're all stuck inside. At this time, a lot of people turn to video games. Now, personally, quarantine didn't affect me to as much of a degree, at least in terms of video games, as video games have always been a huge interest of mine. But for a lot of people, video games were something that they might not have played as much, if at all. So whether you were anticipating this game a lot and were already a huge gamer, or just getting into video games, there was one special game that was released at just the perfect time, and would go on to be one of my favorite games of all time. Animal Crossing New Horizons. At this time, I wasn't as into Nintendo as much as I am today, so I wasn't even really aware of the Animal Crossing series too much, or the fact that a new game in the series was releasing. Although, for a lot of fans, this game was a long time coming and a huge deal, as they'd been waiting not only years for a new entry in the series, but this had also been the longest gap for a new Animal Crossing game ever at this point. Also, the fact that this game was making Animal Crossing look better than ever in a lot of aspects. I found out about the game on the day it was released from a friend who was a big fan of previous entries in the Animal Crossing series. He told me about how he bought it and was excited about it and recommended I buy it too, so I decided to look into it. After watching some reviews, I ended up spontaneously deciding to just get the game on the spot, which is something I've never done before, but man am I glad I did. I was instantly hooked on the game and couldn't stop playing it every single day. One thing that stands out to me is just the charm of the Animal Crossing world. It has such a fun style and I've always really liked it. Now, this was my first Animal Crossing game, so I never really saw the older games before this one, but looking back, seeing Animal Crossing on the Nintendo Switch compared to older consoles really makes the beauty of the Animal Crossing world shine. One thing I think made Animal Crossing very unique to me is the use of real-world time. This has always been in the Animal Crossing games, so it isn't anything new, but as a new player of the series, this was something very new to me. I find this to be such a cool feature, and I think it's a big part of the reason I was so hooked. I always found it so exciting that the next day I'd unlock something new or that item I'd ordered would come in. Being able to do my list of daily tasks was so much fun to me. I remember grinding and finally getting enough materials for Timmy and Tommy to open their shop and being so excited for it to open the next day. Same with things like the museum or Able Sisters. I would genuinely be so excited when I'd wake up the next morning just because I knew I'd unlock something that I'd been anticipating on Animal Crossing. Even minuscule tasks like my rocks resetting and being able to get new materials from them was something I enjoyed doing each day. It was such an escape from the outside world, especially with the state of the real world at the time. One thing I'd like to mention with this is time travel. If you're unaware, time travel is the name that the community refers to changing the real time on your Switch, or 3DS, Wii, etc. in previous entries, to the next day or multiple days to progress in the game faster than intended. Now, obviously, people should be able to play their games however they want, but I always heavily disagreed with time traveling. As I just stated, I'd always found the real-life clock feature to be such a cool part of the game, and it'd really get me excited to play. And when you time travel, it removes that element. I think being able to play Animal Crossing for a few hours or less at a time is a good thing. It's a nice calming game, which is a nice change of pace compared to a lot of other games that you can just grind for hours and hours. When you can time travel, you'll just unlock everything way too fast and not really want to play the game anymore after a short period of time. Now, this isn't always true with everyone, but it can be true, and even if you time travel a lot less or in different ways, it just always feels like cheating the system to me. It's not how the developers intended the game to be played, and it just removes a core element of Animal Crossing in my opinion. Again, anyone can play how they want at the end of the day, but I do think it takes away a big part of the game in my opinion, as I stated. But no matter how you play, I do think Animal Crossing is an amazing experience nonetheless, so if you are a time traveler, no shame to you. One thing that's amazing about New Horizons specifically compared to other entries in the series is the amount of customization. I'd even argue that this is the defining feature of this game compared to the others. The series has always had some level of customization with custom designs for clothing and being able to place down patterns, but they really upped the customization in this entry. In previous games, you couldn't even place furniture outside, and if you've played New Horizons, you know how crucial that is to having any level of customization on your island. Not to mention, being able to terraform your island is an insane feature and opens up so many opportunities for customization. I've never been the type of person to completely deck my island from head to toe in furniture like some people have, or completely change the entire way my island looks with terraforming, and I think that's completely fine too. Big props to people who do have insanely decorated islands that look amazing, but I don't think there's anything wrong with islands being not as decorated as well. As long as you like it, that's all that matters. I always just enjoyed decorating my island with a few pieces of furniture every now and then, and making a few little custom fun clothes to wear. One of the biggest, if not the biggest, things about Animal Crossing in 2020 specifically was the community. With everyone being stuck inside, the game blew up and so many people were playing it. With that came a big online community. I remember tons of people posting about the game on Twitter, whether it be them showing off their islands, posting dodo codes to have followers visit, or trading items. It was just great to have so many people actively playing the game and interacting in the community. I remember a ton of my personal friends and even some family members hopping on the Animal Crossing hype train. It was awesome how just so many people were coming together to play this one game. Another big thing within the community was Discord servers. People would talk about the game, trade items, visit each other's islands, etc. It was a really fun time to have so many people active in these servers and being able to visit people's islands and trade. There was even an entire website created dedicated to trading items and villagers called Nookazon, created shortly after the game's release. Unfortunately, the community would die down over the years, and I think that's what made 2020 specifically such a special time for the game. Along with a lot of other people, I did also end up losing interest in the game at some point. I absolutely loved the game, but with updates starting to slow down, I did have times where I completely quit, and even today I barely touched the game since the final update released in late 2021. And after playing that update to death, I feel like I don't have much left to do on the game. I've only been returning to the game as of recently to finish my Critterpedia, which is something I feel like only dedicated players would really do, as it requires a lot of work and can get boring at times. On the topic of updates, the game did receive a good amount of updates in 2020, which made the game stay interesting and fun. A lot of these were seasonal/holiday events, which a lot of people argued should have been in the game since launch like previous entries, but personally I was fine with it as I didn't intend to time travel to these holidays anyway, and it made it a lot easier to not have any of the holiday items kinda spoiled for me before I could even play the events myself. Not all the updates were just seasonal or holidays though. There were also updates with new, more year-round features being added. Although some of these were just things in previous games, in which again, the community argued that these should have been in the game since launch. I really enjoyed the updates though, and I think slowly rolling stuff out, which yeah, maybe should have been in the game since the start, did actually make it more interesting over time and kept people playing for a lot longer. The first update released was simply known as the version 1.1.0 update, which came out on launch day and added all online functionality as well as the Bunny Day event. Considering this released on the day of the game's launch, I'm not really sure this should be considered an update, but it is still technically an update. Bunny Day consisted of a 12-day period where you would find eggs all around your island. And I mean all around your island. There were eggs everywhere. How the eggs work is that you find them in places where you'd normally find other stuff. For example, your rocks would normally drop stones or iron ore, but now you could get stone eggs. Or in your trees you'd find leaf eggs. Or when you fished you'd find water eggs. Or maybe when you're collecting wood you'd find a wood egg. Or you wanted to dig up some fossils, you'd get an earth egg. Oh wait, let me get that president in the sky. Oh wait, that's a sky egg! Now, in concept, I think this was a fun idea, but in execution, I can see why everyone hated it. The eggs were far too common and it just got really annoying to just normally play the game, especially considering this was the first big holiday and right around when the game first launched. The April free update added Red and Leaf, which were now able to visit your island along with their respective shops. This did more or less just add back two characters from previous entries in mostly the same way they worked in those games, although Leaf doesn't have a permanent shop and takes a similar approach to Red, where it periodically visits your island and offers a small selection of items with each visit. Leaf offers nature and farming type items, while Red sells real and fake art which can be donated to the museum as long as it's the real variant of the art. Red also sells some exclusive color variants of furniture that's already sold at Nook's Cranny. As for Red, the only new thing here is the fact that he has a treasure trawler now rather than a tent, which I do think is pretty cool, although nothing to write home about. Along with Red's art being added, you would now need to donate your first piece of art to the museum, and then it would be upgraded to have an actual art exhibit, as it didn't have one before. A few smaller events were also added with this update, including Nature Day, where you could earn extra Nook Miles for doing nature-related Nook Miles tasks. May Day, where you would travel to a unique island with a hedge maze, and once you make it to the end, you get rewarded with meeting Rover, who gives you a special piece of furniture. International Museum Day, where you travel through your museum collecting a stamp at each different exhibit. And Wedding Season, where you take wedding anniversary photos for Reese and Cyrus and earn heart crystals as a reward, which can be used to purchase wedding-related items from Cyrus. Although this update seems small on the surface, it does add quite a few small updates, which I think makes up for not having any big thing in this update. The free Summer Update 1 added the ability to dive and catch sea creatures. This update is pretty self-explanatory. It just adds diving and sea creatures from New Leaf. It is a pretty cool feature though, and gives you a bit more creatures to fill up your museum and Critterpedia while being able to catch them in a different way from bugs and fish. It does also add back Pascal, who likes to take your scallops whenever you catch them, but in return gives you a mermaid-related item, or more likely than not, a DIY recipe for one. And you can't forget his deep words of wisdom. What does this mean? This update also adds a new character, or more so a variant of a pre-existing character. Gulliver has been in the Animal Crossing games from the start, and he continues that with being in New Horizons, but they also added a second version of him called Gullivar. Or should I say like Gullivar? Gullivar! Which, if it isn't obvious enough already, it's a pirate version of Gulliver. Now, with normal Gulliver, you have to dig up his communicator parts where you normally find manila clams, and once you get all the parts, he fixes his communicator and thanks you for your help by having an item delivered to you the next day. With Gullivar, you have to utilize the deep sea diving feature added in this update and go dive and find Gullivar's lost communicator, and once you find it, he also sends you a gift the next day in the mail. All of his items being pirate themed, which makes sense. This update is just a thing added back from New Leaf and a reskinned Gulliver. Like, it's a fine update, but nothing really new here. At least for the people that have already played New Leaf, and even with that, it's not anything huge added back from New Leaf. The next update is the Free Summer Update 2, which added the fireworks shows and the Dream Suite. These are also 2 returning features from New Leaf. Every Sunday of August, a fireworks show will take place, where Isabella and your villagers will come out and celebrate while fireworks are launched. You're also able to add your custom designs to be able to be launched as fireworks. Red also appears with a raffle stand, where you can purchase a ticket to receive random items to help you celebrate, such as balloons, fans, sparklers, as well as some others. As for the Dream Suite, well, I don't really know if this is much of a suite anymore, but for those unaware, in New Leaf there was an entire building called the Dream Suite that you could enter and have dreams of other people's towns. Basically allowing you to visit other people's towns at any time via a save of their town uploaded online. In New Horizons, you can just sleep in any bed in your house and boom, Dream Suite. Honestly, I do prefer this as I feel like it's just a quality of life improvement. I don't think it was necessary to have an entire building dedicated to this, and this just makes it a lot more simple. Having the ability to share and visit other people's islands without actually having to visit their islands while they're present is a cool feature, and I'm glad it was added back. But again, this is another instance of things being added back. Could they not throw in anything new? Like not even something small? The Fall Update added the Halloween event and pumpkins. The Halloween event being in the game isn't anything new, as every other game has had a Halloween event, and this one does work similar to previous entries and doesn't really have anything super special, so I don't think it's worth mentioning here. As for pumpkins, this is actually a completely brand new feature. Took them long enough. But I think farming is probably a very requested feature in a game like Animal Crossing, and I'm surprised it took this long to get any type of farming in an Animal Crossing game. I mean, there's always been flowers, but I consider that kind of a different thing. But full-on crops where you can farm food? Well, not yet anyways. For this update, it's just pumpkins. Yeah, pumpkins. Now, later on in 2021, they would add a lot more variety, but that's not what this video is about, and for this update, it was just pumpkins. And I think to compensate for the fact that it was just pumpkins, they added 4 different color variants. Orange, yellow, green, and white. The only thing these pumpkins are really useful for is DIY recipes, which is cool, and they help you craft some Halloween-themed furniture. Which the DIY recipes for such can be unlocked throughout the month of October like any other DIY recipe. The different colored pumpkins just allow you to make different color variations of the Halloween furniture. The pumpkins can also be eaten like any fruit, and it should be noted that they would be pumpkin-related food recipes added later in 2021. We did finally get something new here, although it was quite small in the grand scheme of things. And then finally, the free winter update, which added quite a bit with the Thanksgiving and Toy Day events being added, along with a lot of new items and some reactions, or emotes. The holiday events added back their respective characters from previous games, and similar to Halloween, aren't anything super unique compared to their previous game counterparts, so I won't discuss the specifics of these. Overall, with 2 holiday events and a good amount of smaller things, this update was good. But I can imagine how returning players would feel disappointed, and even some new players could feel disappointed if they already knew about the previous games at this point. A lot of these updates did also include a lot of furniture and other items, and this update is no exception, but none of it is really noteworthy. They did add more updates after this in 2021, but this video is a retrospective about the game in 2020 specifically, so I won't get into those in this video. The updates in 2020 specifically were really cool to me because of the seasonal events. The seasonal events were honestly such a cool part of the game, and probably one of my favorite things about Animal Crossing. As I've grown older, I couldn't really look forward to holidays like Easter or Halloween as much as I used to, but being able to play these events in Animal Crossing made those times feel exciting again. In 2020, I was genuinely so excited for Halloween solely because I wanted to play the Halloween event in Animal Crossing. Being able to do all the little tasks and collecting all the little event rewards was so much fun. I love seeing my villagers in silly outfits and hearing the special event music play as I traversed my island. Most of these events even had little things to build up to them to get you excited and give you a little something to do while waiting for the main event. Like Halloween, where starting on October 1st you could buy 1 piece of candy every day in preparation for Halloween at the end of the month. Or in Bunny Day's case, the entire event spanned through a few day long period where you could collect as many eggs and special DIY recipes as you can until Bunny Day itself, where if you've collected every recipe you get a special reward. And if you didn't manage to get every recipe or the amount of eggs you wanted, the rates would be turned up to give you the opportunity to fully complete the event. I think it's really cool the events are diverse like this and aren't just the same thing but with different items. Another thing I'd like to touch up on in terms of events is birthdays. Now, obviously this isn't technically an event like Toy Day or Halloween, but it's something similar I'd say. I remember being so excited to see what would happen on my birthday in the game, because I knew there was something, but I didn't know exactly what it was. I purposely tried avoiding seeing other people post about their birthdays on Animal Crossing, just because I wanted it to be a complete surprise. I've never done anything big on my birthdays, and especially as I got older, less things would come with birthdays similar to holidays, but Animal Crossing was there to give me something to be excited about. The actual birthday event, I'll call it, is so nice. All your closest villagers gather around a cake and say happy birthday. You can even see KK Slider, if you have him unlocked, and he'll sing you his version of happy birthday and give you a copy of it to keep. You also get some cupcakes you can hand out to your villagers for some special birthday items. This is similar to other games, but this being my first Animal Crossing game, it made this really special to me. Although a big complaint was that these events and updates were bad because of the fact that they were so similar to previous games, and should have been in the game since the start, that wasn't the only issue, and not even the main one in my opinion. As I said before, I was personally fine with these issues because this was my first Animal Crossing game, and these were all new to me. And I think a lot of returning players were fine with this too, because at the end of the day, this was a completely brand new game. This game had a lot to offer with stuff like furniture, considering you can place it outside and customize your island so much more. These events may have been similar in concept, but this was a completely new game, so the fact that these events were similar didn't matter to a lot of people. But even ignoring past games, these events were still repetitive after your first time playing them. It's the same event every year, so if you bought the game in 2020 and played through all these events, you wouldn't have much to look forward to for the same holidays in the years to come. Same with any year you get the game. You'll play through all these events the first time and probably have a lot of fun, but when these holidays come again the next year, it's just the same thing. If you've already done all there is to do and gotten all the items there is to unlock in the previous year, you really have little to no reason to log on and do the same thing again every year. And this is an overall issue with the game entirely, not just events. There's a reason the game has gotten less popular as each year passes. People complete everything there is to complete and you're left with not much to do. And of course with a game like this, you can always switch up how your island looks and create new designs, but not everyone wants to do that. Personally, I find it fun to complete events and unlock new items more than customizing. And as much as customizing is fun, it has its limit. When we run out of new items to use, the game gets boring. The game nowadays, especially community-wise, just seems so dead. Those Discord servers do still exist, and there are a good few people that are somewhat active, but honestly, it seems like that's it. I'm still in the biggest Animal Crossing Discord server with almost 500,000 members, and it can be so surprisingly inactive at times. During 2020, there would be so many messages sent every minute. I remember when I first joined the server and there was just countless messages being sent every second in the main chat. And don't even get me started on how Nookazon is nowadays. Trying to get a somewhat obscure furniture or clothing item off of there nowadays is nearly impossible. There are a few listings of each item usually, but offering on them will most likely result in no response whatsoever because the posts are so old. In 2020, you would have received an immediate response. It's just so sad how the community went from being so massive to so dead. But having said all that, I still do love Animal Crossing to death, and although it has its fair share of problems, Animal Crossing New Horizons is still my most played Switch game ever, and one of my favorite games of all time. I'd highly recommend it to anyone who hasn't already tried it, and if someone like that happens to stumble across this video, I'd like to let you know that it's not too late. Animal Crossing New Horizons may not be the most trendy, popular game anymore, but it's still an absolutely amazing game and has such a large demographic. The community is a lot less active, but there is still somewhat of a community and you can find people. Even without the multiplayer, I think the game is amazing, so if interacting with the community is something you have no interest in, it's still great. Animal Crossing New Horizons during 2020 was truly an experience I'll never forget, and I'm sure a lot of people would agree. And if you weren't into Animal Crossing around that time, I hope this video can help show you how unique and interesting this time was for the game. For me personally, it was unique as it was my very first Animal Crossing game ever, but New Horizons itself was also just such a unique game compared to the other entries in the series. And because of the time it came out, it ended up being a really interesting video game experience. Thank God they nerfed Bunny Day.